Hey, greetings, everyone. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West here, the Executive Director of the American Constitutional Rights Union and the ACRU Action Fund. And welcome to another episode of Live Free TV brought to you by the American Constitutional Rights Union. You know, it's been a while since we have been able to do a Live Free TV podcast. And one of the reasons is because our producer, Joe Armacost, we lost him. We lost him to that very serious illness called ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. Joe was an incredible man, and what he had done in reshaping the Live Free TV podcast and all of the efforts he had put into it made it just a top-notch podcast. And we would have thought nothing less would have been achieved by Joe because he had an entire career in media and working as producer of so many different programs and so many different shows. Joe will be sorely missed by all of us here at the American Constitutional Rights Union. He was a special man. He was a great husband. He was a father. And without a doubt, he was a strong constitutional conservative. He was my colleague. And even got to learn a little bit more about him being a rock and roll drummer as well. God be with you, Joe. God keep you always. And we will continue to put forth Live Free TV in honor of your memory. And with that being said, as you all know, I live down here in Texas. And, well, guess what? Texas is back in the news. You know, it just seems to me that anything that comes out of the mouth of Donald Trump obviously has to be bad, even if someone else has been doing it previously, someone else being the Democrats. So when Donald Trump looked at the House of Representatives, when he looked at the narrow margins that we see in our United States House of Representatives, which representation is based upon population, supposedly population of American citizens, he put a challenge out to the state of Texas to say, I think that you all can get 3 to 5 more congressional districts that can lean to Republicans and can help the Republicans. Now, a lot of people will say that you're only supposed to do the redistricting every 10 years right after you take a census. But one of the things we have to look at here in the state of Texas and across the United States of America, the unconstitutional actions of the Biden-Harris administration, when they flooded this country with tens of millions of illegal immigrants, and then, of course, the progressive socialist left, I just call them Marxists, when they decided that they wanted to advocate and they filed lawsuits after the last census in 2022 that said illegal immigrants should be counted in our census. And guess what? The census is all about determining the right and proper congressional representation, right and proper representation down at the state level, even down to the municipal level. And when you are counting just numbers, just bodies, just whoever is here, that skews it toward one direction. And the progressive socialist leftists, they knew exactly what they were doing. We are supposed to be looking at citizens having representation. I guess that's why it's so odd that you would see Democrat senators like Chris Von Hollen all of a sudden refer to a criminal illegal immigrant as one of my constituents, or people that are showing up at ICE detention facilities saying that they have to come in and check on their constituents, but they don't really care and check on the people here in the United States of America who are supposed to be their constituents, we the people, the citizens. And so I think it was imperative for the state of Texas, which has a 1,249-mile border that it shares with somewhat of a failed state that's run by the Mexican cartels, the narco-criminal transnational terrorist organizations. They had operational control of our border during the 4 years of the Biden-Harris administration, intentionally and purposefully so. How did that change the representation here in Texas? Not to mention the fact that we have, well, hundreds of thousands, millions of people that are moving into Texas from places like California, Illinois, and New York. And Texas does not have anything that will prevent it from doing a mid-cycle, mid-term review of congressional redistricting. There's everything that's being done is being done constitutionally. But just the same as it was 4 years ago in 2021, when the issue during a special session called by Governor Greg Abbott was election integrity legislation, The Texas State House Democrats decided that, we don't want to play. We do not want to show up for work. We don't want to do the job of representing the people here in the state of Texas that elected us to be here. We don't want to do the hard lifting of let's stand and have a debate on the issue. We're just going to leave. By the way, we're going to leave on chartered private jets. And so, again, they went back to the well just a few weeks ago to depart from the Lone Star State, and they left and went to Illinois. 56 Texas State House Democrats have left the state during a special session, and they are now residing in Illinois. And what just happened a couple of days ago was that 9 members of the Texas State Senate, Democrats, have decided that they would leave and go to, the state of Massachusetts. Now, let me give you a breakdown of the numbers here in Texas as far as the House and Senate. The Texas State House has 150 members. Currently, 88 are Republican and 62 are Democrats. In order to have a quorum, you have to have 100 individuals that are present. Right now, there are only 94 individuals present in the Texas State House, and therefore they don't have a quorum. In the Texas State Senate, you have 31 members there. 20 are Republican, 11 are Democrat. We just had 9 Democrats decided they will go to the state of Massachusetts. They still have a narrow ability to have a quorum there because they do have the 22 that are showing up present for the duties that they're supposed to be conducting. Now, the Texas congressional delegation, we have 38 seats here in the state of Texas for our congressional delegation. 25 are Republican, 12 are Democrat, and 1 is vacant because of the passing of congressional member Sylvester Turner from down in the Houston area. But what is so interesting to me is that we have seen the Texas State Democrats, and this is the tactic they've used in 2011. They went to Oklahoma. As I stated, in 2021, they went to Washington, D.C., wined and dined and treated like heroes by the Biden-Harris administration. Now this time, the House members went to Illinois. The Senate members went to Massachusetts. But they have gone and fled to states where I think that they are guilty of the exact same thing that the Texas Democrats are saying they don't want to see happen here in Texas. It's so interesting that when Democrats do something, they're doing it to save democracy, to promote democracy, to advance democracy, even if it's unconstitutional. But when all of a sudden the opposition does exactly what Democrats have done, they are against democracy. They're undermining democracy. They're enemies of democracy. Let's look at the facts here. Here are the blue states in the United States of America that have 0 Republican representation in the United States House of Representatives. First of all, Massachusetts, where the Texas state senators have fled to, Rhode Island, Vermont, New Hampshire, Hawaii, New Mexico, Connecticut, and Delaware. Here are the blue states with only one, mind you, congressional House seat for Republicans: Maryland, Oregon, and Maine. Here are the blue states with 2 to 5 Republican House seats: Colorado, Minnesota, Illinois, Virginia, and New Jersey. And the interesting thing about Illinois is that in the last election, 2024, Donald Trump won 44% in the state of Illinois. But yet the state of Illinois only has 2 Republican congressional districts. California and New York are not too far behind. And interestingly enough, in the state of California, there is 40 to 43% of a Republican electorate, but yet only a 17% representation of Republicans in the California congressional delegation. The top 5 blue states have a Democrat control of 79% congressional seats. Top 5 red states, Republican states, they have a Republican control of 69% of congressional seats. So when you really look at the numbers and when you really look at what is happening, first and foremost, all of these empty threats about we're going to look at redistricting more Republicans out. I believe that's what the governor, Governor Healy of Massachusetts, said when she welcomed in the Texas state senators. I don't know how you can redistrict more Republicans out when you have zero. Let me say it again, zero Republicans in the Massachusetts congressional delegation. Now, you would think that these states that I listed, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Vermont, New Hampshire, Hawaii, New Mexico, Connecticut, and Delaware, that they don't have any Republicans there whatsoever, that they don't have anyone that would deserve to have a congressional representative that represents their interests, constitutionalism, conservatism. I find it amazing because if you look across the board, I mean, even here in the state of Texas, we have 12 currently. Right now, with the new maps that they are going to be passing, because without a doubt that's going to happen, you will look at anywhere from 3 to 5 seats that would lean toward the Republicans. So why is it that instead of staying here and debating the issue, that the Democrats here in the state of Texas have decided to flee? And oh, by the way, right before they made the decision to go away, guess who visited Austin, Texas, the capital of the state of Texas? Yes, House Republican Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. So if you think that this was something that was just concocted out of midair, it is not true. Now, one thing I do hold Republicans here in the state of Texas, our leadership, accountable for, this was all predictable. As well, it was preventable. Because when we had the maps that were passed out of the House committee, ready to go to the floor there in the Texas State House, for whatever reason, our Texas State House Speaker, Dustin Burrows, who, oh, by the way, Dustin Burrows became the Speaker of the House here in the state of Texas because 36 House Republicans joined with 49, and I'm sure that 49 of those House Democrats have probably absconded to Illinois. But they joined with those 49 to elect the Texas State House Speaker. So, in other words, a majority of Democrats voted in the Republican State House Speaker. So, Speaker Burrows, voted in by a majority of Texas State House Democrats, he could have very easily, once this passed out of committee, brought it up to a vote in the floor, gone through whatever debate processes and procedures, and forced it to be voted on. But instead, what he did was he called for an adjournment vote. And when they adjourned, that gave the Democrats 4 days to plot out exactly what they were going to do, a Thursday, a Friday, a Saturday, a Sunday. And we awoke at the beginning of last week to find out that the Democrats were no longer here in the state of Texas, or rather this week. And as I just said, the Texas state senators, Democrats, have just left and flown, 9 of them, up to Illinois. But 2 of them remained, and those 2 enable us, Judith Zaffirini and Chuy Hinojosa, both Democrats. I can guarantee you they're probably going to have a primary challenge from the Texas Democratic Party. They remain here so that they do have a quorum in the Texas State Senate. So where do we go from here? What is going to happen? Because number one, this is constitutional, what is being done here. Number 2, this is a practice that Democrats have done all across the United States of America. Like we said, 18 of 50 states that I just listed to you here have pretty much so gerrymandered. And oh, by the way, Elbridge Gerry was from Massachusetts. That's who this whole process of gerrymandering comes from. I guess he would be kind of proud of the Democrats in Massachusetts now that have drawn 0 representative seats for Republicans. But where do we go from here? A couple of different angles. First and foremost, the pay for these individuals who have left the state of Texas should immediately be cut off. We should not be seeing anyone pay for their per diem or any of their pay, and to include the staffs. If the member is not here, why should the staffs be getting paid? And so that's one of the things should be happening. Also, the Attorney General is looking into the case of bribery, because if these individuals were promised something if they would decide to abandon their duly elected post, their representative seat, which in essence is a resignation. Um, that's bribery. You know, J.D. Prisker, I believe they're staying at a hotel that he owns. Did he offer them that hotel for them leaving? Where did the funding for the private jet come from? Now, if these respective members, the 56 from the Texas State House and the 9 from the Texas State Senate, decided that they would write the check out of their own pockets and pay for a ticket on this charter jet, that's fine. But if someone else paid for it, I think we need to look into that. Then, furthermore, who's paying for their food and their sustenance and things of this nature? Who's paying for their transportation while they're there? So I think there's a lot to be looked into with the fact that there could be a little bit of a quid pro quo or political bribery, if we want to put it plain and simple. Another thing that's being looked at is that these seats should be vacated. If you're not here, and I believe that this is going to hit at the end of this week, which will be the Friday, the 8th of August, the process of vacating those seats will be begun. And it should be because they're not here. Look, how many of you out there in good old US of A, if you just decided, I don't want to show up to work today because of a policy that the boss just implemented or is looking to implement? I know in the United States military, if all of a sudden you are not at your appointed place of duty, if you go AWOL, bad things are going to happen. Now, see, 4 years ago, there were no consequences or ramifications for those House Democrats who fled and went away to Washington, D.C. So something has to change here. So without a doubt, their pay needs to be cut out, and also the pay of the staff. Those positions need to be vacated, and there could potentially be criminal charges. Now, I know that there have been quote unquote arrest warrants that have been signed. I don't think that's just a bridge too far. You make people into martyrs if all of a sudden you want to put handcuffs on them and drag them back to the state of Texas. But I think without a doubt, you should have the process of vacating those seats begun immediately. And actually, knowing that this was going to happen, knowing that Hakeem Jeffries had come down here to the state of Texas, well, we should have already been preparing for those seats to be vacated. And there's another little interesting thing in the opinion of the Attorney General of the state of Texas, Ken Paxton. The governor of the state of Texas could appoint individuals to those seats that had been vacated. I know the left is going to go into an apoplectic meltdown. They can wait till next year and they can run for their seat again in the primary, which early voting will start 17 February. The primary election day is the first Tuesday in March next year, the 3rd of March. So, maybe they could just have their little vacation until then. Maybe they can stay up there in Chicago. I'm sure a lot of them will not want to stay over the winter, or especially up in Massachusetts as well. But what I want you to understand from a constitutional perspective, our founding fathers would be appalled. They would be appalled that people, instead of standing and conducting debate on an issue, trying to get people to understand their position, that they would abdicate that position, that they would abscond and pretty much so just run away. If you want to talk about undermining the democratic process, this is exactly what the progressive socialist leftists here in the state of Texas, those representatives in the House and the Senate, are doing. What they're basically saying is that we are so petty, petulant, and immature that if we don't get our way, we're going to throw a tantrum and we're going to run away and we're going to stall the process. Instead of being big boys and big girls and standing here and, well, let's have the debate. And if we lose the debate, so be it. I guess we need to work harder and try to win more representative seats here in the state of Texas. Texas is a red state. Texas needs to act like a red state. Last year, 12 of 14 of the border counties in the state of Texas went red. Donald Trump won the state of Texas by 14 to 15% in November 2004. Ted Cruz, this incredibly close Senate race we were supposed to have, Ted Cruz won that Senate race by almost 10 percentage points. So what does that say about the state of Texas? And so without a doubt, if we have a Republican governor, a Republican lieutenant governor, who is the president of the Senate, a Republican Senate, a Republican House, then they have the ability to pass the laws that they want, which is exactly what we see happening in Colorado, where in the state of Colorado, the blue legislature there and a very leftist governor, Jared Polis, with whom I served in Congress, decided to pass a law that says law enforcement agents cannot ask people about their immigration status. They cannot work with ICE, which, and truthfully, is unconstitutional. It's a violation of Article 6, Section 2 of the Constitution, known as the Supremacy Clause. Because what they are trying to say in the state of Colorado is that we're not going to abide by federal law, which, when the federal government is doing that which is in pursuance thereof to the Constitution, to our rule of law, protecting our sovereignty, you can't make laws contrary to that at the state or at the municipal level. So why is it that we continue to see over and over and over and over and over and over again that the progressive socialist left wants to try to define democracy as advancing their ideological agenda? Where were all of these judges? Where were all of these elected officials? Where were all these people when all of the unconstitutional actions of the Biden administration were occurring, such as refusing to change path on this granting of college student loan debt, which the Supreme Court said they couldn't do? Even Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House at the time, said that the president did not have the constitutional enumerated power to do so. So we here at the American Constitutional Rights Union will continue to point out these incredible hypocrisies that the progressive socialist left continues to show us. Without a doubt, there has to be consequences and ramifications for what they're trying to do here in the state of Texas. And they can kick and scream. They can go on MSNBC, CNN, and all these other outlets. They can go out there and say that, democracy is being challenged and threatened here in the state of Texas. It's not. If you believe so, then why didn't you say something in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Vermont, New Hampshire, Hawaii, New Mexico, Connecticut, Delaware, Maryland, Oregon, Maine, Colorado, Minnesota, Illinois, Virginia, New Jersey, California, and New York? They didn't say anything there because there are rules for thee which don't pertain to me. And remember, their mantra is by any means necessary to gain power and to gain control. So when you hear the Democrats sitting around saying, well, when we get back into power and control, we're going to make DC and Puerto Rico states so that we can get more congressional representation. When you hear them say that we want to take the Supreme Court from the constitutionally mandated 9 Supreme Court justices up to 15, why do you think they want to do that? They want to do that simply because they want more power, domination, and control. This party that we call the Democrat Party is a party of socialists, communists, and Marxists. They believe in everything that is the antithesis to our constitutional republic and our rule of law. They are totalitarians, they're authoritarians, they're despots, and they're dictators. And this episode that is happening here in Texas is a prime example thereof. But we here at the ACRU will continue to stand on the side of the Constitution. We will continue to inform and educate you so that you can be better activated. Follow us at theacru.org to learn more as we expose the incredible hypocrisies of the progressive socialist left. God bless you. And in memory of Joe Armacost.